Right, so we call this fundamentals of fibromyalgia, as I say, so it's a bit of information to start with about what fibromyalgia is. Um, so it can be debilitating for people, and there's four main sort of symptoms. Fatigue and exhaustion, and it's like often the fatigue's described as just somebody's just pulled the plug and all your energy just drains. Widespread body pain. So that's pain that affects sort of all four quadrants of the body, upper, lower, left and right. And the pain might not be all over widespread all the time. Some people find that they've got areas where they get pain sort of constantly, but then they've got other areas where they maybe get intermittent pain as well. But it would affect the whole body. Non-refreshing sleep. Um, Sleep issues can be a lot with people with fibromyalgia. Either they'll sleep for hours and they could sleep sort of round the clock, or they get very little sleep. But doesn't matter how long you get, even if you get a full 8 hours, you'll wake up feeling just as tired. Um, and research has shown that people with fibromyalgia don't go into the deep sleep phase when they go through the sleep cycle, so they're not getting that sort of refreshing um, part of the sleep cycle. Cognitive disturbances and confusion. That's often called brain fog, fibro fog. Um, and it can be something as simple as just forgetting a word or mixing a word up. Short-term memory things where you forget you've made an appointment, or you get your appointments wrong. You maybe turn up for your appointment the week before or the week after. Um, Lack of concentration and focus. So it's just sort of general cognitive, just struggling and getting your words out sometimes can be an issue as well. So I apologise in advance if that happens throughout the presentation. Can have a huge impact in people's lives. Um, Often people find that they're unable to do things they were able to do before they got fibromyalgia, or they've maybe had to change how they do things, or have problems with family, with work, social activities, and just a simple task. Often I'll use the example of getting a shower. Before fibromyalgia, I could jump in the shower in the morning and be in, showered, hair washed, and out, dressed within 5, 10 minutes. That process now can take half an hour to an hour just because of the time it takes to actually do the activity, but then having to rest afterwards. So something that you take for granted can become really difficult. At the moment, we think there's roughly 1 in 20 people in the UK have fibromyalgia. There's not any actual figures, so that figure could be even higher than that. It was based on research which was done in 2009. It was a European study, um, and it showed that between just a I think it's 2.5 and 4.7% of the UK population, so just under 5%. It also seems to impact women more than it does men. They still haven't found out why, but they reckon it's about roughly 7-to-1 of a ratio. And again, as well as sort of not knowing why it impacts women more than men, we also don't have any answers as to why it starts and what causes fibromyalgia. The research points towards there being some sort of trigger. It sort of starts symptoms off, or some sort of trauma or stress to the body. So that could be something physical. So it could be an accident, giving birth, which was why I get my mind was when my daughter was born. An operation. It could be another illness or virus, another health condition triggers it. But also it could be an emotional trauma, a bereavement or an abusive relationship, loss of a job, uh, just mental and emotional stress play a big part as well in fibromyalgia. So some people, they don't know why, and they can't sort of pinpoint it on a particular time or situation. That might be that there's been sort of small stresses in their life that have just sort of built up, and it's that gradual build up until they sort of get to the point where they can't take any more. So getting diagnosed with fibromyalgia, it can be very difficult for some people. It can be quite a long, drawn out space of time to get there. For myself personally, it took 12 years. And that was sort of going back and forwards to different doctors, getting different tests, x-rays, etc. And everything with fibromyalgia, there's not a test. So all the tests that were done would come back clear, but they were just eliminating other conditions that it wasn't. And the symptoms overlap with a lot of other conditions. So they'll, while they're doing the diagnosis, they'll maybe be looking at conditions like arthritis, lupus, MS, um, ME, sort of chronic fatigue. So there's all things like that where they could be looking at other conditions that they'll then rule out. Uh, they have now the Royal College of Physicians on their website, they've got diagnostic guidelines for to help a health professional make that diagnosis. And generally, it's taking a patient history. They've got a couple of questionnaires they can use, the widespread pain index and the symptom severity score. And you get points for sort of tick boxes in these questionnaires. And if you get above a certain level of points, then yes, it indicates towards fibromyalgia. It used to be that they would say that you could only get a fibromyalgia diagnosis once it excluded other conditions, but that's now been changed to accept that you can have other conditions and fibromyalgia alongside that. Excuse me. So when it comes to treating fibromyalgia, again, there's no cure at the moment. So treatment tends to be focused on just managing the symptoms, and that mainly for most people is managing their pain. So they might be start off with signs like general painkillers, paracetamol, cocodamol, etc., and anti-inflammatories, and then sort of move on. Antidepressants are recommended in the NICE guidelines 2021, and amitriptyline and duloxetine are commonly used and have been found to be beneficial for some people with fibromyalgia. Uh, Previously, anti-epileptic medications such as gabapentin and pregabalin were prescribed, but the NICE guidelines sort of dropped them. And although they're still prescribed occasionally, they're not prescribed as often. With medication, it doesn't work for everyone. So some people either they get no benefit at all from the medication, it doesn't help the pain, or they get severe side effects and you can't tolerate the side effects. And even when you do get benefit from medication, often it just takes the edge off the pain. It doesn't actually take the pain away. So for many people with fibromyalgia, they're also still living with chronic pain daily, even with medication. Um, Other things that are sort of recommended is sort of talking therapy, so cognitive behavior therapy, uh, ACT is the other one, and I can't remember now what that is. Action and something therapy. Um, but again, that's the brain fog. It just completely goes. So that counselling can help people. Doesn't always reduce your pain, but it can help you in a better place to cope with it. Um, Self-management, things like activity, simple, gradual and gentle exercises can be really beneficial. That sort of keeping moving, because if you're not moving, your body gets stiff, you can get muscle wasted, muscle weakness, and that can increase your pain levels. So Tai Chi, yoga, etc. are often found to be beneficial. A lot of people find swimming, being in the water can also help. And other things, people use self-management techniques. Um, Pacing, very important that sort of not doing too much at the one time and getting enough rest in between tasks. Um, Other things can be using like heat or cold, heat pads, cold ice packs. Um, mindfulness, meditation, holistic therapies. So there's a whole lot of self-management things there that people will often sort of use to try and manage their symptoms. And again, what works for one person doesn't always work for the other. So it can be very difficult, can be very much a case of trial and error, just sort of trying to find what you can do. Okay, this was a wee bit about the science. There's been a lot of research into fibromyalgia, and sort of one of the most things that sort of come up and it points towards is fibromyalgia being a central nervous system disorder where there's central nervous system becomes hypersensitive and there's disordered pain processing. So we often find people with fibromyalgia told it's in your head. So my response to that is yes, it is in your head, because that's where your brain and your central nervous system is located. And in research, 2002, they did fMRI imaging, and it showed this pain processing people with fibromyalgia, where they were subject, gave them, I think it was the pressure onto the thumb. People without fibromyalgia had very little reaction, but the people with fibromyalgia, their brains lit up like Christmas trees. So it showed that there was this heightened reaction to pain. We often describe it as sort of turning up the pain dial. Um, Whereas if you're often talking about pain being 1 to 10 with somebody from fibromyalgia, often it's up to 11, 12 and higher. So there's a very good research if anyone's interested in that. The Science of Fibromyalgia by Daniel Claw and others. And it's a very good article. It explains sort of all about this research. Research has also pointed towards an increase in some chemicals in spinal fluid. So substance P, which is a chemical, it's connected to pain, nerve growth factor and glutamate, but also there's less serotonin, norepinephrine and dopamine. Other research has looked into factors such as small fiber neuropathy and autoimmune. And again, with these research, often it's a case of it might be a part of fibromyalgia, but they need to do further research to replicate it and to do it in a larger scale. So we've not got any definitive answers as to exactly what causes and what is fibromyalgia, as I say, other than its hypersensitivity of the central nervous system. And that then connects to the fact that it's not only a pain condition, but it also affects things like hypersensitivity to environmental factors such as light, sound, smells, different things like that. And you just a general sort of being in the what they call the fight or flight. So that's always higher alert, hypervigilance as well for people. This slide's just sort of a couple of case studies that we use about how fibromyalgia can impact people so differently. And we use it's two young girls, both early 20s, sort of starting out in life. Um, Rachel has been university, and although her fibromyalgia really has an impact on her study, um, the university have been really supportive, so it's allowed her to continue her studies even though she does struggle with processing her information, etc. However, on the other side, Kaylee, who's just a couple of years older, um, she was working towards her dream career and just about to achieve it when she got fibromyalgia. She's now too ill. She's had to give up working. She's got financial problems. Um, and it's completely changed her life around and had that significant impact. And that's the same for people with fibromyalgia, no matter what age they are or what they're doing. Often they get to the point where they have to completely change around their life or get support in place to allow them to do what they want, whether that's studying, working, or just even bringing up their family. Okay, so on now about the charity. Um, FMA UK has been going now for just roughly 30 years. And The mission statement is to improve the lives of people with fibromyalgia by increasing awareness of the condition and improving awareness of and access to treatments. Um, so a registered charity, and our main focus is on increasing awareness, providing support, and yep, trying to get that access to treatments, which vary depending on where you live in the country, and it can often be a postcode lottery as to whether you'll get a treatment or not get a treatment. So charities are mainly by volunteers. Up here at the office in Paisley, which is just outside Glasgow, we have a small staff team, and um, we have myself, I do the administrator, Linda's fundraising, Jason's with apprentice, and Claire's with office manager. So there's the four of us who cover the office from Monday to Friday. But other than that, the charity is run by volunteers. So we've got our board of trustees who oversee the direction of the charity and do all the sort of formal requirements to keep a charity running. So we've got four trustees at the moment. But we've got various volunteer roles who help keep the charity running and manage all the things that we do. So we have regional coordinators. That's a volunteer who's a sort of local point of contact for different areas of the UK, and it's someone that sort of people looking for a support group can contact, or um, they'll help sort of set up new support groups and provide support to the groups that are already in existence. Um, we have a regional coordinator for the sort of northeast area, Angela, and I can pass on her contact details as well at the end or pop it in the chat. We have National and Benefits Helpline volunteers, so we run two helplines. We have a general national helpline, which is for general questions and inquiries about anything to do with fibromyalgia. That tends to be, we'll get people phone up, either be the person with fibromyalgia, it might be a family member, might be a health professional, or another organisation such as yourself that's just looking for information. We also have a benefits helpline, so we have three trained benefits advisors who are there to offer advice to do with benefits, and they can also send out guidelines to help with completing the sort of forms for PIP and universal credit or appealing in a decision. Unfortunately, at the moment, we don't have the ability to help actually complete the forms, although that's something that for the future we'd like to maybe be able to do. And we have volunteers that come into the office. So one of the things that we do in the office is send out information packs. So that's a key role that our volunteers do. They come in, they make up the packs, send them out. Um, we've got online support. We've got a Health Unlock forum. We've got Facebook support group. Uh, so we have volunteers to help us moderate and admin on these. General and advocacy volunteers. These are just sort of general ad hoc volunteers who help out with just maybe specific roles. We've got someone helping out with updating our website at the moment, and another volunteer that's helping us to make some videos that we can sort of share on social media and our YouTube channel. There's also a medical advisory board. This is researchers and health professionals that the trustees can go to if they need something confirmed or if they need to get further information in something relating to medical that's sort of out with their reach. So, as I say, without the volunteers, we wouldn't be able to get anywhere. So, what does the charity do? As I've sort of mentioned there, we send out a lot of information. Providing information is one of our key focuses. So we do that in various ways. We've got information booklets, so that's available either online on our website or we can post out a printed copy from the office. And we have a newsletter, our social media, our website. So we use all different ways of sort of promoting information and providing it. We also have a separate information booklet that we can send out to health professionals. Um, and again, that can be available online or as I say, sent out from the office. Um, we'll do awareness raising campaigns, so we'll do maybe social media campaigns just on specific points. Sort of recent one was November for Men's Health Month. We sort of focused on men with fibromyalgia, and we had some interviews. Um, some of you might have seen on BBC, Adam Frost spoke about having fibromyalgia on BBC Morning Live. And we followed that up. We were able to do an interview between Adam and Des Quinn, our chair, that we're going to be sort of featuring in the new year. So we'll do things like that throughout the year, just to sort of try and boost and raise awareness. We provide a lot of support links to local support groups. Um, we've got over, I think, about 120 at the moment in the UK that we're providing support to. So we'll provide resources and information to the groups. We can help with setting up new groups if there's an area without a group and someone's interested in setting one up. Uh, and just we're there just to provide guidance and information. If someone phones the helpline looking for a support group where volunteers will pass on contact information. Um, and we've got a few groups in the sort of northeast area. And again, I can pass on information for any of the contact details if anyone's looking for that. The charity, we don't receive funding wise, we don't receive any government funding or grant funding. So all our income comes from fundraising. Um, and this can be from the larger fundraisers, such as we've had skydives, we had a Falkland Island trek by some uh, army sort of stationed out there. Um, well, the last picture was a presentation similar to this. It was a company in Edinburgh who chose FMA UK as the charity of the year. And we went over, we did a presentation. Um, they did various fundraising during the year, but they also did a cake sale the day we went over. Nice goodies for eating. But fundraising can be simple. Sometimes it's just a basic donation. It'll come in from someone, or might be a coffee morning. Uh, Facebook fundraisers are quite popular for things like that. Um, so it can be anything that someone can do. A marathon, 5K, 10K, just ways that people can raise funds. And also, as well as raising funds, when people are doing these activities, they're also helping to raise awareness of the condition and of the charity. So say these are just a couple of examples of previous things that we've put on social media. Um, and again, it's just ways of just sort of highlighting and raising awareness of the condition, and getting that information out there. I mentioned earlier there with information packs. As I say, they're available both online and to be sent out. So the first link, the resources, that's if you wanted a copy sent out from the office. So you could just a short form, fill in your contact details, what information you're wanting, and we can send them out. And again, the publications one has them online, and you can sort of read them online or download a PDF copy. So we have sort of a basic patient information book, which is general information on fibromyalgia, but we also have a young people booklet, because fibromyalgia can affect you at any age. So the booklet covers sort of children and teenagers, so basically up to that sort of leaving school, going to college stage in life. Um, and it's similar to the information booklet. Some of the terms are explained a bit more simple terms for someone younger to understand. And there's also a pull-out section for if they're at school, they can give to the teachers. So say we've got a health professionals booklet that again, similar information but contains references that a health professional can go and look up more information. And not shown, but we also have our employment booklets. So that's we've got two booklets, one for person as an employee and also one for the employer. So that's if someone is in work or looking to go to start work, get advice and information, but also if they want to give their employer information on the condition, they've got that booklet they can pass on. We also have an online only publication, which is for pregnancy, and that covers sort of the conception, pregnancy, and sort of just after childbirth um, stage. So that's an online only one at the moment. So that's what we do. So that's pretty much my presentation. This last slide is just some contact details and some useful pages on the website that people might find useful. So I I'm going to pass then over back to Helen, and if there's any questions or anything anyone's got, I'll be happy to try and answer them. And if I can't answer them just now, I'll take them away and I'll get back to you with them.
Thanks so much for that, Hazel. There has been a few things, sort of put in the chat. So we'll go through those. And while people are thinking of some questions, there was a few comments, I guess, just what people might have found, sort of helpful themselves, including someone saying it's ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, which I think is what you were maybe
Yep,
trying to think of at the time.
my brain just went dead.
Yeah, spoon therapy for pacing
Yep.
as well. Don't really know much about that. Do you know much about that, Hazel? Is that
Yeah, the spoon theory is something that's used quite often with people with chronic illness. And Christine Miserando, I think it was, that started it, and she was explaining to a friend about her limited energy and how she'd only had so many spoons each day. So it's like you start your day with 20 spoons. So you use a spoon to get out of bed, a spoon to get to the shower, a spoon to get dressed. And it's like maybe by lunchtime you've used up your full day spoons just by getting up and getting dressed and getting ready. And then you've got to borrow spoons from the next day. Sort of another sort of general knowledge and analogy that we've used before is also of a battery in a mobile phone. Think about how you have to, when your mobile phone runs down, you'll try and recharge the battery. If you let it run out completely, you're left with nothing. So it's trying to get that recharge before you reach a sort
yeah.
of 0 point. Um,
There's a couple of comments here about local support groups. So Pauline said that there is a group in Long,
Live, yeah,
which is far away from, sort of parts of
yeah,
obviously Northumberland. Pauline, very happy if you want to email if you've got any flyers or anything, we can get them sent on to the people afterwards along with the slides. And
yeah,
we know that there's a one in Blythe, which is
live.
Blythe fibromyalgia and chronic pain.
Yeah, we've
Um,
actually reached out to the one in Blythe, but I've not heard back yet. And I'll check. Maybe I don't know if the Long Benton one I think might be registered with us at the moment.
It would be helpful to have the regional coordinators details, and then what we can do if people want
Yeah,
to find out about, sort of groups within the Northeast and they can contact, but we'll certainly send on the information about the Blythe group. And as I say, I'll put my email in the chat if you want to send,
yeah,
information about any other local groups as well that we can kind of make sure people are aware. Someone,
yeah.
oh, it
Paulie's
says
just
that
sent me
it's
along to the
right.
Newcastle one. Yeah, I was sure I recognised the name Long
Excellent,
Benton.
excellent.
Yeah, and Angela, that's our regional coordinator as well at
Oh,
the
fab.
Newcastle group.
So
Cramlington. Not sure of that one. If there is any groups, certainly that people are members of that's not registered with FME UK, please ask them to get in touch. Uh,
it would be great to know more. And Joanne, again, if you want to pop anything in this chat, we'll make sure that we get out that information afterwards. There has been a question about getting a diagnosis, which I guess is probably probably quite a complex answer given what you
yeah,
mentioned about the length of time that it might take for people to get, sort of a diagnosis and having, sort of trying to almost discount other things. Is there some sort of like pathway that's available for fibromyalgia, or how
there's
does it work?
not a specific pathway. The nearest we've got to a pathway is the Royal College of Physicians website. They've got diagnostic guidelines available on their website, and you can download the information. They've got a patient leaflet that you can download from there. And they also, you can see the sort of widespread pain index and the symptom severity score that a health professional can use. It's been pushed more towards general GPs making the diagnosis in primary care, whereas previously it was often people were referred to rheumatology. Um, and I'm just, as I say, I can pop off, I can send you over the link for that diagnostic process on the website after, so I can just take a wee note of that.
Yeah, that would be great if you could pop that either in the chat, or alternatively if you just send over to myself and we'll, sort of get
Yeah.
it out with the other documents. If you can send it on straight after this, Hazel, and we'll make sure it gets out to people.
Yeah, as I say, but it can be very difficult. I'd often suggest to people sort of keeping a sort of diary. So keep a sort of diary of what your symptoms are, how they affect you, when they affect you. And just sort of, it generally just will go sort of on your patient history. And sometimes it is a case of just having to be persistent. Because often with fibromyalgia, people maybe go to their doctor with one condition symptom, and then they'll go with a different one. And unless the doctor's aware of fibromyalgia, they maybe don't join the dots. So it can be sort of very difficult, depending on the doctor that you're seeing. I've heard many stories of people who've been back and forth to their doctors for several years, and it's then maybe they go once it's a locum doctor, and because they've saw somebody different that sort of sat down and said, "Oh, that all fits together. We'll look at fibromyalgia." Um,
Yeah, and that's difficult, isn't it? If obviously because of the, sort of a time that you get with the doctor, sometimes, as you say, it's about, maybe writing down, when the symptoms have started, how long they've been going on for, if anything
yeah,
kind of improves them. And I would imagine that a lot of people in that situation probably have to do a lot of their own research, maybe. Do you find that to kind of find out
yeah,
a lot more before they kind of do, raise that with GPs and such?
yeah. I've just posted there the diagnostic link there for people, but yeah, it can be that often people have to go to their GP and say, "Could it be fibromyalgia?" And it might be sometimes. There's maybe been on TV the likes of the morning programs where they've maybe featured it, and somebody will be sitting there thinking, "Oh, that ticks all my boxes," or there'll be something in the newspaper or a magazine, and they'll think, "That could be me, that could be my story." So sometimes people will be like that, and they've done their own research, and they will be saying, "Yeah, could it be this?" Um, we still very much come across a lot of stigma and a lot of dismissal of fibromyalgia among health professionals, which is very frustrating. Um, and sometimes it is sort of having to sort of push through that, and often we have people who have maybe had to completely change, either see a different doctor or change surgeries just to be able to get a diagnosis.
Wow. Yeah.
And
So obviously really, and as you say, that effort and thing that's, sort of involved must be very, very tiring in itself. So,
yeah, and then once you actually do get a diagnosis, it's then well finding out the treatment. And often you get told, well, just get on with it. You've just got to learn to live with it. Um, which technically, yeah, you do have to learn to live with it, but it's how that's put across. So there is a self-management, there's pain management. You can go and learn sort of how to manage and live with chronic pain, and things like pacing comes in, and that's where things like spoon theory can be useful. Um, And it's that breaking tasks down into smaller chunks. So if you've got a large task, do it for 15 minutes and stop for 5 minutes. Or
yeah, that's
just
really
sort of
good
making sure
advice.
that you plan in sort of rest periods with what you're doing. So it can be a difficult journey.
There's another
It's,
question there about, I guess, Joanne, if you're able to, sort of either post, or I'll put my email in there. it would be good to get details of the Cramlington group because it's local to someone. So I don't think I'm aware of that one either. So I'll pop my email in the chat in case anybody would like to send on further information that we can get out to the people who have attended today.
Yeah, I was just checking here. We don't seem to have the Cramlington one
Oh,
registered
it's
with us,
Joanne
so
said it's an ME support group, so slightly
all right,
different. I guess
like
one of the
yeah.
things is that something that sometimes ME does get, sort of there's quite a lot of similarities with
There's a very big overlap. And again, ME is a condition where there's no test for it, so it very much is based on your history of your health and the symptoms that you're presenting with. Um,
that's
and
true.
there is, I mean, with ME, the sort of the chronic fatigue is the sort of main symptom, but people with ME can also have pain and they'll also have the cognitive issues. And whereas with fibromyalgia, pain is often the sort of the main sort of focus and the main symptom. So it's very much a lot of people end up diagnosed with both.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I
and
think Joanne's saying that obviously some people with fibro do attend
yeah,
this group as well. And I think that's probably what the Blythe group found as well, and why they, have people with more like just generally chronic pain as well as fibromyalgia, because obviously there is quite a lot of, sort of crossovers. There's someone who's mentioned about a fiction book called Christmas at the Cat Cafe, which give a really interesting insight into the
yeah.
condition.
I've heard of that group, but I've not read it. I must look it up
Yeah.
because I've saw a few people mention that one now. And then there's a few books out there that sort of fiction that people have had the character um with fibromyalgia. I know there's another chap that writes books, and I think it's sort of crime books he writes, and there's somebody in that. Again, it's not I've not read them myself, but there's a character in there. So one of the main characters features fibromyalgia. Um, I mentioned earlier we've got a newsletter. The likes of that. If anyone that has read a book that they find really useful, we're always looking for book reviews for our newsletter. So if anyone wants to write a short review of a book that they've read, please get in touch.
We'll be sending on the slides, which have obviously all of your contact details. A question, just from my point of view, which I'm sure will be the case, but the support groups and stuff that are run, and generally like the helpline and everything, you don't need a formal diagnosis for that, presumably,
No,
because
no,
obviously it might take a while for people to get, so people can get support in the interim and all of those sorts of things, or if they're just struggling to get a diagnosis, I guess.
no, because we provide support to a lot of people that have not got that formal diagnosis, but they've got all the symptoms.
Yes.
Um, so no, and I mean, every group's different in how it runs, but yeah, most groups are open, and a lot of groups like that they'll cover the sort of fibromyalgia, ME, or chronic pain in general.
Yeah, I'd
So
imagine peer support with things like this is just really, really important because of the, sort of like the issues and, and the concerns that you've mentioned about, sort of getting diagnosis. So I think peer support is definitely, sort of something that would,
yeah,
help in this situation. And I guess things like, you're talking about kind of exercising, but it's that thing about pacing, isn't it? Because if everything, causes quite a lot of fatigue, then it's about, working out what's best in for you as an individual.
definitely the same. It's one of those things where the research has shown that exercise and activity is one of the best things you can do for fibromyalgia, and that's one of the main sort of differences with ME. With ME, you get post-exertional malaise, which
Mhm.
is severe fatigue where you just cannot do nothing after activity, and that could be minimal activity. But with fibromyalgia, you can do a certain amount of activity within your limits. And yes, you might be a bit tired and a bit more sore, but you don't get the same sort of level of fatigue as you get with ME. So someone with fibromyalgia would be able to sort of gradually build up the level of exercise or activity they're doing. Um, Often use sort of walking as an example. So it might be even if you can only walk to the end of your path, you do that. Just do that daily. Even maybe do it 2 or 3 times a day if you're able to. But then maybe a week later you're able to sort of walk to the end of the path and then to the first lamppost and then walk back. Um, So it's that sort of building up slowly, building up gradually with whatever you're doing. Um, and I mean, I did a few years back, I did a 5K for the charity, and it took me almost a year of training to build up to this 5K. And I started off at the gym, and I was doing 1 minute in the treadmill.
Mhm.
And that was it. I did that minute, and that was me. I was in and out of the gym within 15 minutes,
Mhm.
maximum. And it was that sort of 1 minute. Then it was just sort of a minute, just over a minute, maybe a minute and a quarter, a minute and a half. And just that sort of very small, sort of 30-second increments each week, and doing that sort of a couple of times a week. Um, so it's that sort of building up. Um,
Yeah,
and it's
because
the same with any activity. It's just sort of doing within your limits, or even just sort of slightly less of your limit, that then allows you that sort of build up.
yeah, because otherwise it can be counterproductive, can't it? You
It
know,
can, yeah. And I mean, I've had fibromyalgia 30 years and I still overdo it and I still push myself too much. And I think, why did I do that? Because I just suffer. And sometimes you've got to push through it, and you that maybe you've got a special event or something you really want to do. And it's like you say, well, I know I'm going to suffer. And I'll often try, if I've got something like that, I'll try to rest a bit beforehand, but then I'll maybe try and allow a day or two afterwards just to rest, just to recover, because I know I'll need that.
has anyone got any further
Yeah.
questions?
I
Please do
noticed
pop
there
them in the
Lisa
chat.
popped in about access to work. Access to work's the government support for people either starting work or in a position where they'll come out and they'll do like a workplace assessment and suggest any recommendations, um, help you sort of support you with your reasonable adjustments. And yeah, if anyone is working, it's a really good service. I believe at the moment they've got quite a long waiting list. I know when I started working with the charity, I had them out myself and they came out and got me a chair, a keyboard, footrest, etc. Just suited for myself and just to make my working day that bit more comfortable. Um, and reasonable adjustments. I mean, I've got things like I work 3 days, but I work 1 day from home. And I work a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so I get a day off in between. So it could be things like that. Occupational health as well. You can get a referral to them again to help support keep you in work. And as I mentioned earlier, we've got with employment booklets that explain bits more about that.
So people can just obviously browse the website. You can get, you know, sort of information from the website, or you
Yeah,
can yeah, or you can ask for hard copies as well. So there might be some people on the call that, you know, sort of want
yeah.
that. So thanks so much, Hazel. We'll just wait another minute or so to see if there's any kind of last minute information comes in or
Yep.
questions.
I've just popped up there my personal email. Or as I say, the head office email will come through as well. But that if anyone's any further questions or any looking for information, they can just drop me an email there.
Would be great. And I think those contact details will be in the slides that we
Well,
send
I know
on.
what else I was going to put in. I'll give you the contact for Angela, who's the
The North East
RCA.
coordinator. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fabulous. And thanks everybody for coming along today on this lovely, well, sunny afternoon where I am anyways. And thanks very much, Hazel, for giving up your time to deliver the presentation today. That is much appreciated. So I don't think there's any further questions coming in. So I would just like to thank you again and say that all of our, you know, sort of future online events are on our website. And you know, you can find information from there, and we will have this recording ready as well for people who couldn't attend today, or if you just want to kind of share with your teams. Thanks very much for coming, everybody, and I do hope that you have a lovely weekend.
And thanks very much for inviting me along. As I say, it's what we do with the charity, and it's how we get that information out there, is doing presentations such as this.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.